because he had left. He was in the back of the court, and then he went. I think they took up to like a back room. But the you know, all the Diddy kids are there, right? So his daughters are there. I was sitting behind them. It was awkward for me to watch them have to listen to all of this. After he started, the male Esther started getting into a lot of the and stuff, they got up and left.
Who told him to leave? Did Diddy say leave or?
No, Diddy didn't tell them to leave. I don't know if there was a conversation or not. I looked up from writing and I saw them get up, so I don't know. But I know that they were like checking on each other throughout. I saw them ask like Christian at one point.
So you might have seen the headlines about these daughters storming out the courtroom, but let me tell you, it wasn't just some teenage tantrum. These girls didn't leave like they were bored or just had better things to do. One of them was straight up shaking the other. Looked like she was about to throw up right there, and the third, she sat frozen, eyes locked on the floor like her whole world just crumbled in real time. But this wasn't just some awkward family moment. Nah, it was way deeper. These are three young women just barely out of high school being forced to sit there while strangers paint their father as some kind of monster, and not in vague cash deals with escorts, wild parties that turned into
there to support him. He blew them kisses in court, made gestures across his heart. But once the opening statements began, Combs was much more dispassionate. At one point, as a man who says he was paid to have with Cassie Ventura while Sean Combs sat in the corner. Combs pushed his chair away from the defense table.
Horror stories, graphic videos no one should ever see, even whispers that a classmate of theirs was tangled up in it all. That's right, a classmate. This ain't just messy, this feels cruel. So let's rewind real quick and break down what really went down that day.
I don't know any father that would want their children to sit through testimony about how much their daddy liked to watch people lubricated.
Them question everything they thought they knew about their dad. And y'all, this was just day one. It all kicked off when Cassie stepped into that courtroom. And listen, she didn't just enter, she arrived glowing, pregnant, calm as ever. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex, his so-called muse, and now the prosecution's main weapon. Cameras flashed in her face, and she didn't blink once. No tears, no fear, just laser focus on the man she once loved and who, according to her, turned her life into a nightmare. This is the same Cassie who was allegedly dragged down hotel hallways, beaten behind closed doors, and controlled like a puppet in someone else's twisted fantasy. But now she stood tall, baby bump, and all eyes locked like she was done being scared. And here's what's wild. While most witnesses are staying anonymous or hiding behind sealed files, Cassie came in loud and proud, name out and voice strong. You might have seen the headlines about.
Just before the break, Cassie testified the longest freak-off she was involved in lasted for 4 days. The freak-offs became a job, she said, noting that other encounters took anywhere from 36 to 48 hours.
Diddy's daughters storming out of the courtroom, but it wasn't just some teenage tantrum. These girls didn't leave because they were bored or had better things to do. One of them was visibly shaking, another looked like she was about to throw up right there, and the third sat frozen, eyes locked on the floor, like her whole world had just collapsed in real time. This wasn't an awkward family moment. It was something much deeper. These are three young women, barely out of high school, being forced to sit there while strangers painted their father as some kind of monster. And not in vague terms. There were allegations about cash deals with escorts, wild parties that turned into horror stories, and graphic videos no one should ever have to see. Even whispers that one of their own classmates was tangled up in it all. That's right, a classmate. This isn't just messy, it feels downright cruel. Word is, the daughters didn't leave because they were embarrassed. They left because something was said in that courtroom that cut deep, something personal, something that made them question everything they thought they knew about their dad. And this was just day one. It all started when
For those who like to stupidly comment, well, why didn't she leave? She said she didn't have the resources and she didn't feel safe to do so. In her own words, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that. Later, Diddy not only threatened to have her freak-off tapes released, but that he would harm not only her, but also Kid Cudi, which I'm sure you know he's very capable of doing so. Cassie said he told her that he wouldn't be harming her and Kid Cudi with his own hands, and it would happen when he was out of the country.
Cassie walked into that courtroom. She didn't just enter, she arrived. Glowing, pregnant, calm as ever. Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex, his so-called muse, and now the prosecution's main weapon. Cameras flashed in her face, and she didn't blink once. No tears, no fear, just laser-sharp focus on the man she once loved, the man she says turned her life into a nightmare. This is the same Cassie who was allegedly dragged down hotel hallways, beaten behind closed doors, and controlled like a puppet in someone else's twisted fantasy. But now, she stood tall, baby bump in full view. Every eye in the room locked on her, as if she was done being scared. And here's the wild part. While most witnesses are staying anonymous or hiding behind sealed files, Cassie came in loud and proud, name out, voice strong. The whole courtroom froze when she spoke. You could feel it like everybody in. There stopped breathing, even the feds in. The back were posted up, looking like. They knew they were watching history unfold as soon as the judge gave the nod. Cassie dove straight into her truth, no. Stuttering no filter, she peeled back. Years of pain like she was unloading her soul, like this was therapy with receipts. Cassie didn't come to play, she came with
truth that hit like a hammer, she said.
Those freak-offs, they weren't rumors, they were real, regular, planned out like events and filmed not for fun but for blackmail. She said Diddy flew her to places like Vegas, Turks, and Sickos, Miami, and LA, only to lock her up in hotel rooms with strange men while he sat in the corner and watched, sometimes in total silence, sometimes touching himself, sometimes barking orders like he was
directing the sickest music video you
could imagine. And the second she tried to escape that madness, boom, punishment, a slap, a kick, of phone smashed to pieces, a mirror shattered, and as she described it, all the courtroom went dead silent, that kind of silence that squeezes your chest. You could feel people's hearts breaking in real time, but Cassie, she didn't shed a tear. She stood there solid, like she'd replayed this moment in her mind 100 times, and now it was finally her turn to speak. She told the jury how Diddy allegedly chose every outfit she wore, controlled her whole music career, cut her off from people who cared, and made sure she had nobody to run to. This wasn't just some toxic relationship, she was living like a prisoner in designer heels. And here's where it got even darker. Diddy's daughters were right there in the courtroom, hearing it all, every word, every sick detail, and you could see it hit them. This wasn't just about their dad being controlling, nah, this was something way deeper, something disturbing. But the day wasn't over yet. Not even close, because next up a man named Daniel Phillips stepped forward. And y'all, he didn't just spill tea, he threw the whole pot. Daniel was a male escort with receipts and scars. Folks in the room didn't know what to expect, but what came out of his mouth, it was jaw-dropping. He said Diddy used to pay him stacks, thousands to perform with Cassie, while Diddy watched from the sidelines, allegedly giving directions, getting off to the whole scene, and sometimes he jumped in himself. You could hear the air leave the room. Some folks stopped breathing, others sat up straighter, pens scratching fast like they knew they were witnessing something historic and horrifying. Some folks just stopped taking notes altogether. One woman in the back reportedly dropped her pen, buried her face in her hands, and didn't lift her head for the rest of Daniel's testimony. And just when you thought things couldn't get darker, Daniel hit the courtroom with that story, you know, the one, the baby oil, the same rumor that's been floating online for years like a ghost in the gossip corners. Yeah, he confirmed it in graphic, and how far it went, that's how disturbing it got. And it was right after that Feeling some called it brave that they showed up, others were furious, saying they should have never been allowed inside that courtroom with stories this back and like it was just part of the job. Cassie straight up told the courtroom that these freak-offs became her full-time assignment. No time for music, no time for life, just perform then recover over and forget. That 2016 hotel hallway tape that the world's already seen where Diddy's dragging her and laying hands, that was nothing compared to what got played in court. Insiders said the new footage was so explicit, so raw that the jury looked shook. Some turned their heads, others shifted uncomfortably like the air got sucked right out the room. And did he sat there blank watching it like it was just another video on mute. Cold Cassie tried to stay composed. At first she held it down, but once that screen showed her being shoved, yanked, and humiliated, her voice cracked. She froze, had to stop and breathe deep, steady breaths. Like that footage pulled her right back into the moment, like she could still feel his hands on her, and then she looked straight at him. The entire courtroom locked up. That was the moment, that bone-chilling stare, where a survivor locks eyes with the one who broke them. You could feel the tension spike, like the roof might collapse from the weight of that silence. She told the jury that Diddy used to say these twisted sessions made her special, that sharing her was a privilege, like she was some sort of prize. He told her no other woman could handle that kind of love, and she believed him, because when they met she was just a young girl and he was 37. This wasn't just manipulation, it was training. The whole courtroom froze when she spoke. You could feel it, like the air just stopped moving. Even the feds in the back looked locked in, as if they knew they were witnessing something that would be remembered for years. The judge gave the nod, and Cassie went straight into her truth. No stuttering, no hesitation, just years of pain laid bare. It felt like she was unloading her soul, only this time it came with proof. This wasn't about rumors. She said those freak-offs were real,